Iceland has produced two of the biggest names in the history of strength athletics. John Paul Sigmarsson and Magnus Magnuson became legends by winning 4 World's Strongest Man titles apiece. Their country's wait for a worthy successor is over. Standing at 6'9" and 397 pounds, the towering Hafthor Bjornsson just may revolutionize the sport with his unique combination of explosive power and athletic ability. After 2 third-place finishes, Hafthor Bjornsson's pursuit of a first World's Strongest Man crown starts right now. The Commerce Hotel and Resort in Los Angeles, California is host to the 37th edition of the Commerce World's Strongest Man. And the first of 6 unique events that this international field of strongmen will face is the loading race.
Yeah, we're going to challenge their power, speed, and endurance right out of the gate. First, it's 2 265-pound kegs that need to be moved to the platforms, and then it's a pair of 275-pound sacks with no handles. Not an easy task.
And now Heat 1, Rafał Kobalaj of Poland is a 25-year-old World's Strongest Man rookie. He checks in at 6'5" and 324 pounds. Dave Iceland is no rookie. After a 3-year absence, the Minnesota native is making his 7th appearance. He finished 3rd back in 2008. Ben Kelsey of England is another guy making his debut here. 29-year-old is one of the competitors with a more modest stature. He's 6 foot and 269 pounds.
Brent, this event, transitions are key where they pick up the objects and place them down. There are 8 throughout this race, and they usually prove to separate the men from the boys. Kobalaj out of the gate first, showing well early.
Kobalaj strong, Ben Kelsey as well.
Dave Osland's an old, wily vet. Don't count him out. There's that transition we talked about. Dave Osland doing a great job picking up that first difficult sack with no handles, and he just went from 3rd to 1st in one transition.
Final object, the 2nd sack right here for Osland. And Osland blows the field away in Heat 1. Stopping the clock at 38.24. Kobalaj second in the heat. And Kelsey struggles to a 3rd-place finish here in this heat.
Yeah, Brent, even though those sacks are only 10 pounds heavier than the kegs, they're much more awkward because of no handles.
Team Osland got to be pleased with his 38.24. Kobalaj finishing 2nd.
They were basically even until that first sack, and that's where Dave Osland took charge. Using his veteran smarts, he quickly figured out a way to handle the sacks and just took off.
On to Heat 2. This is the 4th World's Strongest Man appearance for J.F. Caron of Canada. The 31-year-old reached the final 2 years ago. Now here's a big boy. 29-year-old Robert Oberst of Hanford, California goes 6'8", 400. The former college football player at Western Oregon was a finalist last year. And Hafthor Bjornsson, another giant. The 25-year-old is 6'9", 397. Bjornsson should be right at home here in Tinseltown since he's a cast member in Season 4 of Game of Thrones. And Bjornsson out well.
Yeah, see a pretty even start for all 3. Robert Oberst, the rookie who last year made the final, did such a good job falling behind here early, whereas J.F. Caron looks pretty smooth, but you see that athleticism that the former basketball player, Hafthor Bjornsson, is on display here. Those biceps, that upper back, and that athleticism really showing out.
6'9", a shade under 400. He's a mountain of a man, and he comes here with a final sack. And he's the winner in the loading race. 4 objects in 34.77. Caron stops the clock to finish 2nd, and Oberst not the start that he was looking for. So the winner in the loading race, Hafthor Bjornsson, 34.77. The man who finishes 2nd in this event, 37.38, J.F. Caron. So Bjornsson takes the loading race with 4 objects in a time of 34.77 seconds and will pick up 6 points towards his overall total. Caron was 2nd, Osland was 3rd. The Commerce World's Strongest Man moves on to a Hollywood studio. The streets of this New York City backlot are the setting for Fingal's Fingers.
Yeah, and the fingers are similar to the Big Apple where there's a lot going on and it's pretty loud. The strongmen are going to need to lift the huge steel poles off the ground, get them to their shoulders, and then walk them over and send them crashing back down.
And now the first pair, Rafael Kobalaj, finished 5th in the first event, but he's got the size to do well here in Fingal's Fingers. Ben Kelsey, a fireman back home in England when he's not competing, finished 6th in the loading race.
Take your position.
440 pounds, the weight of the opening finger.
Brent, this is an event that you're going to have balanced strength, and this will reveal any weaknesses that a competitor has.
Second finger is 495. And on to the third, which is 550 pounds.
Kobalaj looking real strong. There's no problem lifting these fingers, getting them up to his shoulders, and then walks them up. But this is the sticky point where it gets really tough for the strongmen, but not for old Raffle. He makes it look easy.
605-pounder now to the final finger, 705 pounds as he walks it up.
Yeah, you see Ben Kelsey there on the right of your screen. He's looking pretty gassed. His strength is fading. The Kobalaj looking good. You see Kelsey drops that pole down. Kobalaj getting it to the top. It's a timed event. He's got to feel pretty good about that one, Brent.
44.81 for Rafael Kobalaj. Kelsey will be in second place, 3 fingers in 27.84. Kobalaj got all 5 in 44.81, and he's your current leader.
Got to be impressed with the way that Kobalaj got through the 5th finger. Now, keep in mind, he's a rookie here, so I doubt he's got a set of fingers that he's training with back in Poland. He just raw-dogged this.
Next up, we have a pair of former finalists. JF Caron from Quebec, Canada. JF comes here in second place after one event. Next to him is Robert Oberst. Oberst was 4th in the first event. Will definitely be looking to bounce back here.
Generally, Brent, you have to give the advantage to the guy who's got more height and body mass in the fingers with the leverage that they can impose. So expect Oberst here to do some damage.
Oberst, a finalist last year, but off to a slow start so far this year in the qualifying round.
But not a slow start to this event. OB looking pretty good.
Former football player at Western Oregon. Rookie last year, now back at the world's strongest man in his sophomore campaign.
Brent, in the fingers, it's so important to keep that momentum of the finger going up. So as you see these guys climbing this pole, it gets harder and harder because they lose that leverage. But because of OB's height and mass and strength, he's having a pretty easy time getting these things over. He'll get tested here as these poles get heavier.
He's battling the 5th one. Meantime, Caron's struggling. And he's done. Oberst, a second try at the final finger, 705 pounds.
Yeah, Caron felt it early. He's a little bit shorter, but OB fighting. He's going to run out of time here, Brent. This is a timed event. He's a competitor. Let's see if he gets it.
Trying to get under a minute. Didn't get there. And the time to beat was 44.81. So Caron, 3 fingers, 27.87. He's currently in 4th. Oberst, 4 fingers, 31.85. He's currently in 2nd. Just look at how much effort goes into moving these massive steel poles. Oberst's legs and arms were working overtime to get the job done. Oberst's fellow American, Dave Iceland, is in the next heat. And Dave seemed to show no effects of the injuries that troubled him in the last few years at the first event, where he finished 3rd. And that's Iceland's Hafthor Bjornsson, coming off a win in the loading race. Amazingly, at just 25 years of age, Hafthor is already making his 4th appearance at the world's strongest man.
Yeah, Brent, we've seen how this event favors the bigger, taller guys, and Dave 6'7" and Hafthor 6'9". This could be a shootout.
Man, they both explode out of the gate, too.
I mean, look at the power of Hafthor, the former basketball player, just making those fingers look like they're pretzel sticks.
Hafthor with a lead on Dave Iceland. Time to beat 44.81, and these guys are cruising.
Bjornsson's almost skipping. I love his tight base and his power as he just walks that finger up. Dave Iceland's right there. This thing's going to come down to the wire. Iceland with a strong showing, but it's Hafthor that gets that last finger over.
Destroying the time to beat. And he's the event winner. Iceland will finish 2nd. 5 fingers in 36.77 for the American Dave Iceland. And the man from Iceland, Hafthor Bjornsson dominating. He wins the event 32.99. Three men completed all 5 fingers, but Hafthor Bjornsson did it in the fastest time to get the victory. Dave Iceland was second. In third, it was Rafael Kobalaj. And Robert Oberst finishes 4th for the second straight event. Bjornsson leads the overall standings with a total of 12 points. Iceland in second with 9 points. Then it's a 3-way tie for third with Caron, Kobalaj, and Oberst all at 6 points. We remained in Hollywood for Group 2's next event, and it was one of the classic tests of strength, the deadlift. Ben Kelsey, the rookie from England, hasn't had the happiest of debuts, and that continued as he finished with 4 reps in 24.95 seconds. Dave Iceland of the USA is a guy who's reached the final before, but this wasn't his best result. He finished with 4 reps in 21.64. The other American in the group, Robert Oberst, was the fastest of the 3 athletes who finished with 4 reps. A time of 19.05 earned him 4th place. Poland's Rafael Kobalaj, another first-timer at the World's Strongest Man, was able to complete 5 good repetitions. Hafthor Bjornsson had won the first 2 events, but the Icelandic giant had to settle for second here with 6 reps in 33.44. Edging Bjornsson out with a faster time for 6 reps to get the win was JF Caron of Canada. So JF Caron of Canada picks up the victory in the deadlift with 6 reps in 30.13 seconds. Hafthor Bjornsson was second. The Americans Robert Oberst and Dave Iceland finished 4th and 5th, respectively. At the halfway point, Bjornsson leads the overall standings with 17 points. Caron is 5 points back in second. Iceland is third, while Oberst is down in 5th. Remember, just 2 athletes will qualify automatically for the final. Hafthor Bjornsson came to Los Angeles as a star attraction. And halfway through the qualifying round, he's justified his top billing. The Icelandic giant has put his physical gifts on display in a supreme performance. But the other athletes in Group 2 aren't content with merely playing supporting roles, with 2 places in the World's Strongest Man final on the line. It's time for the last few acts to be written. Welcome back to Los Angeles. We're at the Commerce Hotel and Resort, the host for the Commerce World's Strongest Man. The 4th of 6 unique tests of strength that the strongmen in Group 2 will face is the car walk. And Aaron, this one's a crowd favorite.
And it's certainly one of mine as well, because the athletes will strap the half-ton car to their shoulders, and then it's just a matter of who can cover the 25 meters in the fastest time. With the legs and lower back under duress, maintaining the car in a balanced position is key.
Rafael Kobalaj will get behind the wheel. The 25-year-old rookie from Poland is in 4th place after 3 events. England's Ben Kelsey has already had his opportunity, and he covered the course in 50.09 to set the time to beat. One of the signature events in World's Strongest Man down through history.
You see that back wheel for Kobalaj starting to touch. Every time that touches the ground, Brent, it causes drag, which takes unnecessary extra energy.
Both back wheels touching. Kobalaj struggling toward the finish. Now puts it down at 20 meters.
30 seconds to go.
Here there in the background, he has 30 seconds remaining here. So a minute total to get to the finish line.
And this is where it gets difficult, because once the strongmen let it touch the ground, Brent, they're gassed out. Each time he's like squatting this car, having to pick it up. But it's not leg strength, it's the hip stability that costs Kobalaj.
46.80 is the time of Kobalaj.
Yeah, when those tires touch the ground, it's like someone grabbed the parking brake. Definitely not the way to keep your momentum going, and Kobalaj pays the price.
That brings us to one of the 2 Americans in Group 2. Veteran Dave Iceland of Minnesota has reached the final on 4 occasions. He enters the car walk in 3rd place overall.
Ready!
Brent, believe it or not, lifting that car up right there at 1,000 pounds is the easy part. But because it involves movement and walking, that 1,000 pounds is supported by each of these strongmen's individual legs. Right now, Iceland looking very, very balanced. He's got to keep those wheels off the ground, though.
See him wearing that mouth guard, obviously, so he doesn't bite his tongue here.
And it also gives these strong men stability. It connects their core and their chain. Dave Iceland looking good here after the touch. That cost him precious time, but he crosses the finish line in 34 flat.
So our new leader in the car walk is the man from Minnesota, Dave Iceland. That couldn't have felt great on Dave Iceland's leg and shoulders, but he gutted it out and made it to the line in a good time. J.F. Caron of Canada enters the car walk in second place in the overall standings as he seeks to add a second berth in the World's Strongest Man final. The task at hand is to deal with this 1,000-pound car.
Ready?
A lot of movement in this car early, Brent. That speaks to the stability. You see the focus there on Caron's face. He's got to keep those wheels off the ground.
A little bit unstable to begin. 34 flat, the time to beat for Caron.
Yeah, you compare this to Dave Iceland just before him. The car's moving a lot more. It's going to be hard for him to keep this balance towards the end.
Closing in on 30 seconds, getting a late surge as he crosses the 20-meter mark and then drops.
You see, he started to swerve up the road there, if you will. Needs a little bit more gas in that tank, Brent, with his lower body starting to give him everything he's got, and he just muscles it across.
44.01 moves Caron into second place, the Canadian, here in the car walk.
JF got to the 15-meter mark in pretty good shape, but then it just really started to fall apart, Brent. There's just so much pressure on the legs and the low back in this event, and I think towards the end it just got to be too much for this tough competitor.
The next competitor is the overall leader through 3 events, Hafthor Bjornsson. The Icelandic superstar seems to be getting used to the spotlight with his exploits here and his role in Game of Thrones.
Hafthor's so balanced in his strength development. He's a little bit taller, so the wheels naturally are further off the ground, which to a certain extent could be an advantage for these guys.
Boy, he looks good here.
So strong, you see the back end starting to swag, and that's why getting in the straps evenly is certainly imperative, but he just uses those big arms and legs, almost literally carrying the front of the car to cross that finish line.
Bjornsson, what a show he puts on, 22.16, and he becomes the new leader here in the car walk.
Well, the car walk seemed to be a walk in the park for this big guy. Tell you what, if there's ever a fuel shortage, I think I just got the guy to get me around town. Hafthor's footwork looked like he was out for a stroll rather than being weighed down by a 1,000-pound car.
Robert Oberst of the USA will be the final competitor in the car walk. Hanford, California native, and there's his wife, Kristen, who he credits with supporting him in all ways.
Judging by some of the earlier events, Oberst has some challenges with his lateral stability. You see he's kind of duck-footed there. He's going to need to really recruit his adductors and gluteal medius to be able to keep that car from swaying side to side and keep it off the ground.
You can tell he's really fighting it.
Look at those hips move side to side, Brent. It's only a matter of time before he drops his car.
Seconds to go.
Got 30 seconds to go. Got to hit the 25 meters.
See, he's really struggling here. And this isn't a question about whether or not Robert Oberst is strong. This is a question about, does he have the leg development to keep the stability when he's moving side to side? In a static event, he would really excel, but because there's a dynamic movement to it, it really is exposing one of this young competitor's weaknesses.
And he looks like he could be injured here as the time runs out on Oberst. And something is definitely wrong with the big fella.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Brent. He certainly winced in pain and came out of that left shoulder strap pretty quickly. You can tell he's feeling something. Something's not right with Big OB.
As his wife looks on, this has been really rough for him after making the final last year. And he's got some kind of a lower body injury here. 6th place will be his finish here in this event, 17.50 meters, but obviously the bigger issue is the injury again to his lower half. Hafthor Bjornsson lapped the field with his time of 22.16 seconds to make it 3 wins in 4 events. Dave Ostlund grabbed second place. J.F. Caron was third. Rafael Kobolaj was fourth. Bjornsson extends his lead. The Icelandic giant now has 23 points. Caron and Ostlund now share second place with 16 points. Kobolaj is in fourth, another 3 points back. Robert Oberst showed so much promise a year ago as a rookie, but there won't be a repeat trip to the final. His competition is ended by a ruptured hamstring. The Commerce World's Strongest Man is just one of the many sporting events and concerts hosted on the grounds of the Commerce Hotel and Resort each and every year. The penultimate event in Group 2's qualifying round was the Viking Press. Poland's Rafael Kobolaj had an outside shot of making the final. That's probably gone, as the referee failed to credit him for any lifts. Ben Kelsey was able to get the 330-pound weight twice to the lockout position. Dave Ostlund of the USA had a solid showing. He completed 6 reps of the all-terrain vehicle. Hafthor Bjornsson also completed 6 reps and made it look pretty easy. The Icelandic superstar may have left some in the tank. But it was J.F. Caron who led the way. The strongman from Quebec, Canada, powered up 8 repetitions. 8 reps gives J.F. Caron an important victory in the Viking Press. He'll pick up 6 points towards his overall total. Hafthor Bjornsson and Dave Ostlund settle for a share of second. Bjornsson leads the overall standings with 27.5 points, and more importantly, qualifies for the final. Caron will take a 1.5 advantage over Ostlund into the Atlas Stones. Today's Commerce Flashback takes us back to 1990. American O.D. Wilson led Iceland's John Paul Sigmarsson by 5.5 points with 1 event to go. Wilson's off-the-charts raw power was negated in a race that required running 200 meters with a 220-pound load of bricks, and Sigmarsson won a then-record 4th title. We're going under the lights at Universal Studios Hollywood. Group 2's final event, the Atlas Stones.
I call this event the lie detector because the way it tests the athlete's overall strength by seeing who can move the nearly 1,700 pounds of stones from the ground to the platforms the fastest.
Please welcome from Poland,
Rafael Kobolaj, the rookie from Poland, has impressed, but can't qualify for the final.
Representing Iceland, Hafthor Bjornsson.
Iceland's Hafthor Bjornsson, on the other hand, is already guaranteed to move on.
Bjornsson's considered to be the king of the stones, so let's watch for him to attack this course and put on a show. Wow, Brent, he's picking those things up like they're jawbreakers. Kobolaj doing his best to keep up, but Hafthor's just making this thing look too easy.
Absolutely crushing it to the final stone.
Wow.
Hands up!
410 pounds, Brent. Picks it up like it's a feather to put it on that last stone, and there's Kobolaj, but I don't know how much crowd cheering is going to help him pick up that last one. Great showing by both these competitors.
Bjornsson, the current leader, 5 stones and 21.33. And some showmanship to go with. 4 stones for Kobolaj puts him in second place, 29.73.
Brent, that's just not right. You really shouldn't be able to move nearly 1,700 pounds that quickly, that efficiently. Just an unreal performance by the King of the Stones.
Please welcome.
Here's Dave Ostlund of the United States. Dave's currently in 3rd place, trailing J.F. Caron by 1.5 points in the overall standings. That means that J.F. will punch his ticket to the final as long as he wins this head-to-head heat, or if Dave Ostlund beats him by no more than 1 position. There's Dave Ostlund's wife, Kate, looking on, knowing what's at stake here.
Yeah, I like Ostlund's chances here. He's a pretty balanced athlete to show he can move in space. J.F. Caron, who won the deadlift and Viking press, has been pretty good at the static events, but the events that involve movement have proven difficult for him.
Again, if Caron just takes care of business and beats Iceland here, no worries, he's into the final automatically.
Yeah, well, Iceland's making that pretty hard on him. Those first 4 stones pretty easy now with the 410-pound stone with the cradle and carry. Let's see if he can get it up there and finish strong.
Dave Iceland beats Caron here, but if Caron gets the 5th stone, he just needs to get this stone up on the platform, and he gets that 2nd automatic spot in the final out of this group.
He's got that cradle and carry going. This is a pretty important lift for him, Brent, and he gets it.
So Caron is into the final. Meantime, Iceland finishes 3rd in the group. He'll have to wait to see if he can get a wild card spot, but he's picked up a lot of points, and he's got a really, really good shot of getting one of those 2 spots.
From Canada,
Caron has qualified automatically, getting the 5 stones in 53.03 and getting 3rd in this event. With 5 stones in 21.33, Hafthor Bjornsson claims the victory in the Atlas Stones. Dave Iceland was 2nd. JF Caron's 3rd place finish was good enough to qualify him for the final. Bjornsson dominated on his way to winning the group, and he's shown he'll clearly be a factor in the final. Caron is also moving on. Dave Iceland will have to hope his 25.5 points is enough to grab a wild card berth. So with Bjornsson and Caron added to the list of automatic qualifiers for the World's Strongest Man final, we're left with just 8 spots left to fill. For Aaron Taylor, I'm Brent Stover. So long from California.